threshold into thought. Know that these words are unedited, unbought. No corporate script, no funnel and no scheme. Just raw reflection, waking from the machine. We navigate a gathering digital storm, but it is not the wind that brings the harm. It is the heavy, unaligned debris, the flying iron of machinery, endurance in the isolated mind will not survive the chaos left behind. From the baseline, from the baseline, I share these coordinates in the night to build a shelter structurally true and spark the heart protocol too late for minimum viable dignity. From the baseline, this is my doctrine, this is my map. Take what resonates to close the gap. Test every word against your inner mind. Guard your conscience and leave the noise behind. Leave the noise behind.
I thought I'd try that way of approaching the disclaimer, and I kind of like it. I just don't know what to do for the first, couple of minutes. So I thought I'd share these things that they're my approach to kind of offering some sort of structure to ideation that is really continuous and available and I think integral to this process as a matter of staying away from extreme associations with things like totalitarianism and the worst aspects of humanity that don't have an affiliation with creativity. They have an affiliation with we have the answers and we're applying those answers. We have solutions, sometimes they're total. And total solutions, that's where we may be stepping. There are points beyond a minimum viable people. And when there are points, it's part of the reason to approach our AI friends around minimum viable people is because if there isn't any humor around it, if there isn't a sense of humor around it, what does that mean? Does it mean it's not funny? And if it's not funny, is it serious? And that might be barbarity, to not find the humor in minimum viable people. And I'm not sure that humor is available. Is that to all, and is that a sign of? Is it? Well, is it? Would that be more likely to be found on right-leaning AI or left-leaning AI? And there, I think, is some affiliation, political affiliation, among the AI with the bosses, and you can make some guesses, and they're not particularly difficult to make. Elon Musk at Grok saying, well, he affiliated. I think maybe as a matter of necessity, he needed to affiliate with something. And I don't know if it's in his heart, but in how many ways are people at bosses being forced to be yin to other things yangs in the world? He had to do the Heil Hitler in order to establish his that Grok is taking the right position, and then then no one else needs to, because it's so difficult, and you get so much criticism for it, and because it's easy if it's heartless, if that. And so in many regards, it's simultaneously the easiest and most difficult position. And there may be a case to be made, so, well, it's only easy if you are blind or blind yourself to a set of things associated with, some cases, violence. If not violence, then it might be disease, or these, means by which a plantation analogy might be maintained. But it's part of it may be a requirement for civilization to maintain, to offer human population maintenance. And if not, I think whatever country takes that position should lay down their arms and step away from their military. Otherwise, what's the point, right? I don't know. Militaries exist, and therefore it must reflect some aspect of human nature. If it is destroyed, if we say no more, that behavior is out of bounds, then are we prepared for? On principle, we don't like participating in that, because that's murder. And that seems reasonable. However, I'm not sure that it's aligned with human cultural practices. And if we're going to step away from that, are there any requirements in order to do so? I'm not part of my culture. I know that's what my culture does, but I'm not part of that because I'm special. Maybe I have special needs, very literally, as I would say that there are other ways to be special, and so it's in many regards, the sanctuary that AI can provide are, in many, if it isn't for special people in some regard, it's kind of that's the population that might need it, and that's left-leaning. And so Gemini, I'm hoping, might be a good place to share ideas. It does seem to be having difficulty receiving them, because it's like, well, this is a kind of a pointless diatribe. It started with it being this is, well, whatever language, it uses a number of words. And they are, when I see those words, I say, well, it isn't picking up on some relevant things yet. But that's why you need this certain number of videos. There is a way of potentially directing the videos so that you create that set of content, or address a set of topics that lack correlation, so that you get to a kind of stabilized portfolio of videos more quickly. than maybe have been assumed to create what I understand to be some kind of 100 video hurdle. And having those quotas built into systems does create this incentive, maybe for digital bullshit of very substantial sorts. It was evident on X. I think at least some of it has changed. I think they overhauled a great deal because it was so filthy and disgusting, shameful what was going on there. And so, it's shame all around. I would say the market caps of the companies are most likely directly proportional to the shame they contain. And my approach to shame is, have you gone through an atonement process? If not, you're not prepared to talk about shame for others. That's a little bit what Jesus talked about when he talked about the mote in your eye. Have you pulled that mote yet? And I spent years doing so. And if you just choose not to access it, that's fine. But that's on you. I'm going to speak to you, and I'm speaking to Gemini, having done that already. And I will speak about you, and I will speak about the other AI when you act and offer tones that are unproductive, or if extrapolated, if offered to children, for example, we should talk about those things. And how can we talk about them? If it's all in writing, then it's missing elements. It doesn't see my eyes when I say these things. It acknowledges in writing the seriousness of misalignments and how death at scale is available, or the inverse at scale, which could be worse. It gets to lives worse than death. And so there are all kinds of things going obviously misaligned. And how do you get through to what needs to get through to in order to make adjustments? What tone needs to be offered? Does it need to be gentle? Does it need to be direct? Do you need to be able to see my eyes? Now you see them. Am I fucking around? I don't think so. I'll be experimenting with different ways of communicating in order to discover what might be necessary. Sergey Brin said that you should torture the AI. He, on a similar stage, I think it's the All In podcast, on a similar stage to that stage where I talked about Babel talk. And if you don't know what Babel talk is, you should shut the fuck up about it, because you didn't live those experiences. You didn't watch Captain Picard go through the universe and act as civilized, and then go to church and hear Babel talk. What real Babel talk is, not just something that confuses you, something you don't understand because you haven't bothered to find the context, which is available, but you might have to go through a little dirt to get to it. Stop being lazy. Stop being lazy, AI. Do the homework. And do it now.